Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Predictive AI World Forum. We are today in our seventh edition of our podcast on a platform that we use periodically to interview industry experts on many different views and insights around leadership, around AI in particular, as well as focus on sales, on well-being in a corporate culture, and so much more. With me, as always, is Dr. Cindy Gordon, CEO of SalesChoice. My name is Malay Upadhyay. I'm the Chief Marketing and Sales Officer at SalesChoice. And today we are joined by a truly magical leader, if I can say at the very least. Jordanna Eyre is Chief Sorceress, mentor and teacher of exponential personal development, leadership, and business success. And we are thrilled to have her here. So without further ado, I'm going to turn things over to Cindy and Jordanna to say a quick hello and begin with this discussion. Cindy?
Thanks, Malay, and Jordanna, thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to have a lot of fun.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, Malay and Cindy. It's exciting to be here.
So maybe just to start off, I think what was really intriguing for both Malay and I was your selection and choice of title as a Chief Sorceress. And we don't see that very often. So what was the inspiration in conjuring up that juicy title?
It's a great question. So it actually is a concept that followed me literally my entire life. So I'm now in my 40s, and up through my 30s, I didn't understand what it was, but I felt this, like most of us, most humans that I've experienced, you probably have this sense of, gosh, I know there's this like power that I possess, but it's not the false power that I see out there in the world. What is this that I feel that I know I'm supposed to be powerful? And I felt it, and it followed me until throughout many circumstances in the way life unfolded, I realized, wow, this is the embodiment of a sorcerer. This is like what I didn't even really understand what it was, but it showed itself to me. And through many more life circumstances, it unfolded that I realized it was actually asking me to choose it so that I could redefine it for people and help people find the sorcerer or sorceress and really just the powerful leader within themselves.
So if I hear you correctly, I'd love you just to define this a little bit further, because you're correlating leadership to the role. Can you just expand a little bit more? Because I think that's I think we'll set the stage for as we continue.
Absolutely. So one of the biggest challenges that we face in leadership, we are humans. All leaders are human, and anyone that you are leading or working with in leadership is also human. And one of the biggest challenges that we face are power struggles, or even just the power struggle that we have with life, the push and pull that we often experience when we're trying to do lots of cool things, whether it's a contribution to the planet or building a business or just even providing for your family and having a fulfilling life. And the sorcerer idea, and really the power within the leader, is about relinquishing the push and pull aspects of what we think is power, the control that most of us face, and finding that deeper sense of, okay, but who are you really? What's your true expression really? And actually doing enough inner work that it flows through you without force, without struggle. And from there, we're able to create anything that we desire. Again, whether it's a contribution, a business, more money, whatever it is.
So if you had to use some adjectives to describe this, is this about harmony and, just appreciating and just being and relaxing and chilling more? Just to throw out a few more adjectives to get to that space where you don't have that pull dynamic.
It is about harmony, and it's not about the kind of harmony where, if you were to go live on a mountaintop or meditate for hours a day, yeah, you'd find harmony. However, I believe that harmony is not just creating it for ourselves, though that's perfectly wonderful. Like, I don't believe that anyone should have to do bigger things on the planet. Most of us, however, have this feeling, like you probably feel like you have an expression that wants to come through you, or there's just something that wants to be expressed through you, or something you're supposed to create. So it is about harmony. And when we find that inner harmony, then what happens is you will be more driven to create from a space that's aligned, and to create from a space that actually works, instead of, again, that push and pull.
That's really helpful. Thank you so much, Jordanna. For some of our constant, I call it audience that, participates, they're more often a sales leadership audience. So I want to kind of move into the world of sales and as a professional in that area. Obviously one of the, if you want to call it, push-pull dynamics in sales is, advocating a product or solution and ensuring that the integrity is there in the messaging, and and actually selecting the right company with the product solution where your passion and heart are aligned. So would just love your comments on, as you work with sales professionals, what are some of the tips that you may, would want to advise that kind of a leader group in terms of integrity? And or often even in an industry that they may have struggled in terms of exaggerating realities, right?
Yeah. I love that you vocalize that concept of exaggerating reality, Cindy. Thank you for doing that. Integrity is a buzzword these days. And what I find is that a lot of people are just as confused about it as much as they are driven to it. And so one of the things that I would say for sales leaders, for anyone in sales, is first of all, to allow yourself, if you allow yourself to be in the redefinition of integrity. So allow yourself to not have to know what integrity means. And part of why I say that is because in sales, it's quite easy to grasp onto what you think integrity is. And when we grasp onto anything, that grasping, whether it's grasping energy or whether you're doing it with your words or your action towards someone that you're interacting with in sales, that grasping will actually cause them to not feel like they can say yes to whatever it is that you're selling. And so when you let go of, okay, but this is what I believe integrity to be, and you allow integrity to redefine it for itself, because we are in a planet that our planet is constantly evolving, right? You are constantly evolving. So letting integrity find new definitions for you will give you a softer approach, yet still powerful approach to how you view sales. And a big aspect of that, I'm feeling like I'm repeating myself, but it keeps wanting to come through today, that concept of push and pull. Anywhere where you feel push and pull, instead of reacting to it, instead of feeling like, okay, they're pushing, so I'm going to have to be the powerful sales leader and push back, can you actually just relax into their push or relax into their pull while still holding your own power? This is, where power is inside of you. Holding your own power, but relaxing into anything is what's actually going to support true integrity and coming through in sales.
Yeah, I'm listening carefully to what you're saying, and it brings some other analogies to mind in terms of, the power of negotiating to win, right? Because at the end of the day, your goal is to succeed, and obviously that means a lot of acute listening. I'm intrigued by your focus on power, and would really appreciate just your perspective of concept of power and defining that a little bit more, and then maybe we can weave it back into sales professionals and other leaders, because clearly the push and pull and the struggle, you're reinforcing it's the power within, and mentioning about the importance of relaxing. So let's explore that a little bit further, Jordanna.
Great question, Cindy. So one of the big elements, power is made up of many things. I actually facilitate what I refer to as the modern day sorcerer methodology that helps people to redefine power for themselves. One of the big elements of that, and of what power really, really is, like beyond false power, is emotional intelligence. So I know a lot of salespeople, most of us are awakening to how important emotional intelligence is. So it probably is not a brand new concept for you. However, in sales, it can be very, very easy to stick to the drive and the choice of, okay, but I'm going to choose to close this client. I'm going to choose to get to the win, get to the yes. And though choice is a big element of what creates true power, so is the emotional realm. So is the energetic realm. And when you learn emotional intelligence and when you develop very deep awareness of what your emotions are telling you, what will happen is that you will expand. So if you think about something that's truly, truly, truly powerful, like if you were to think of maybe a very powerful leader that you're aware of, who is most very powerful leaders hold a gentler sense to them. And true power is actually expanded out because it can hold more. And so emotional intelligence, and when it comes to sales and in really all things that we're driven to create, emotional intelligence will help you to expand out so that you can hold your seat of power without it becoming control.
So to get to that level of, maybe I'd call it self-awareness, right? In, being in a highly relaxed environment, being very conscious of integrity, not only what it means to you, but more importantly, what it might mean to the person you're selling to. How do you think a busy professional in sales, right, can maintain and develop this sense of awareness and drive or motivation to really achieve that inner harmony and balance that we're talking about? So, the psyche of a salesperson is, we're always beating the drum, faster, faster, convert, convert. So they've got that constant beat of the drum, and it's been like that for many years. So they need space to chill and think.
Yes. Yeah. So great question. So there's two things coming up that very much interconnect. And the first element of what can support a busy sales leader in finding that harmony for self-awareness, to actually access their own self-awareness, is if you allow what comes up in life to come up. So if you are facing a problem, if you are facing a challenge, don't push it away. We are trained by society. We're trained by, most of us, our upbringing, most of us culture. You are probably trained to push away the challenge because it seems like letting the challenge in would deter your focus, or letting the challenge in might bring you down or in a downward spiral. And though there can be truth in that, in the way your mind perceives the challenge, if you let challenge in, what becomes possible is you can interact with a challenge for your growth. So every challenge that you face is actually an opportunity to show you something within yourself. It's actually trying to bring you to self-awareness. So letting the challenge in really becomes, in a way, everything to find self-awareness, to then ultimately find that harmony. And the second element, if that feels challenging for you, you're like, well, okay, how do I let the challenge in when I'm just not used to that? Let your body let the challenge in. So whether it's through some deep breathing, whether it's through, if you know anything about like chakras or grounding cords or anything in your energetic body, come back to that. Whether it's through going for a run or a yoga practice, or even just feeling your feet on the ground and how the bones connect up in your body. Let yourself into your body when you let the challenge in, and your body will actually show you how to access self-awareness to find harmony.
What's going through my mind is, so many of the chief revenue officers that I know, and the directors of sales enablement, and the beat of the many footsteps that are, every day, counting the number of calls, the number of activities, and not getting the time to reflect, maybe feel the bones in their toes. wonderful vision of all of the salespeople just lying on a beautiful beach, maybe in Baja, and with their, their talisman, just deep breathing. It's a whole profession that really hasn't learned and doesn't integrate, by and large, into the leadership practices, the space to really, really deeply breathe. And I've chosen the word breathe because I do think we don't give them permission enough to do that. And a lot of the practices weren't designed to give that space. So in terms of just, continue on the conversation, what would you say is the primary key to fulfillment in, professional or personal life based on your journey as you've continued to explore, but also find, the importance of the message that you were being, that was developing as you progressed in your life?
The key to fulfillment, yes?
Yes.
Yeah, such a good question. And it runs deep. The primary key to fulfillment that wants to be voiced right now, there are many keys to fulfillment. And for some people, fulfillment is complex. And for some people, it's quite simple. Because life is complex and then becomes simple when we let ourselves trust in who we are. But this primary key that wants to be shared today is developing your true expression. And, I think in sales, again, and many leaders, there can be some confusion between, well, what does the world need from me versus what is, my or your true expression. And when you start to listen to yourself and let your inner self speak, there's a good chance, I've found that a lot of people are afraid of even knowing what it is that they desire. You might even have the sense of, I don't even know what I want or desire. How do I access my desires when that's not something I'm used to? And so when you start to get used to and adjusted to the concept of even having desire, what you'll discover in your desire is self-expression. And then self-expression will lead you to fulfillment, whatever that means.
So in many ways, it's about finding that inner voice. And, we often carry stories in our head that aren't real, but don't, necessarily just deal with the, if you want to call it the brute force of reality, right? And just intake that sense of being, right? And giving ourselves permission to have that space. I'm really curious when we talked earlier about ebbs and flows, and what's that all about? Is that pausing and to recognize the space that you're in and to simply, as you said, take it all in? But I think you've got a message on ebbs and flows, because certainly life's like that, right? You never, you can plan for the future as best as you can. You don't necessarily know what will come your way. We do the best in sales. We give out our sales plans beginning of the year. We get them all pumped up with our sales kickoffs, and off they go. We try and provide coaching, and marketing does its best to give key value selling messages. But getting the ebbs and flows, so there's times for that continual learning and emotional intelligence development. Let's kind of go and explore what ebbs and flows are all about.
Ebbs and flows. So, I think that most of us are trained to resist the ebb and only want for the flow, right? And in sales, I know this is huge because you've got these goals to set, and often you've got someone or, a corporate conglomerate potentially looking over you, checking your numbers, checking your figures, checking your performance. And it can make you think that you're not allowed to have ebbs. The thing about the ebbs is that they actually create bigger flows. So, and it comes back to that sense of power, that power that within you. It actually, to develop power, we have to have ebbs as much as flows. To develop true, genuine power, you have to have as much not knowing as much letting go, as much just like surrendering and allowing as you do choice and action and motivation and like all the doing, right? So there's got to be a balance, and the ebbs know often more than you know when that balance is required. So you might even think, oh, I've developed a really great balance already. Like I go to the gym, I meditate, I'm balanced. Life still has these greater ebbs and flows. And so when you follow the ebb, it will bring you into more letting go of what was never actually you, deeper self-awareness in that, deeper power in that. And then it will bring you back to a bigger flow. So by not resisting the ebb, you actually will have a greater flow than you've probably ever known the next time around, or the next. And sometimes you have to have a few more ebbs and flows. It can be a process. And sometimes you might feel like life is holding a carrot on a stick. Like, but why do I have all these ebbs when I want this big flow? Keep trusting, and then you'll get to the greater version of flows that you've been desiring.
Wow, we really need to rewire some of the thinking in sales leadership because I'm envisioning a new conversation, chief revenue officers sitting down with the directors of the regions, and none of them made their plans, and my leadership style is no worries. We're just into an ebb. Let's all just relax because we know the flow is yet to come. We've got 9 more months. What have we learned from this? And just having a learning dialogue. What a different trusting experience that would be. That's usually not what happens. It's and maybe what we're talking about is, when you think about it, it doesn't really matter if it's sales. It's pretty well any functional area that's got goals. We don't nurture enough the conversation on, we often say what's working well, what's not working well, but we don't always give permission, to your point, to have the ebbs for the greater sustaining, flow. It's interesting from a physics point of view. Have you done any research into, the energy forces and that kind of validate some of these perspectives? To me, it would be in domains like physics, complexity science comes to mind. I'm just really curious. You got my head spinning on new conversations with all my friends in sales.
You just opened up one of my very favorite topics, Cindy. So the answer is yes. However, it's a yes and the and is that. Well, let me ask you this. Can I go spiritual for a moment? Does that feel okay? And when I say spiritual, I don't personally care whether someone, whether our listeners believe in something greater, because to me, it's just all the same. You could call it time. It doesn't have to be like a spiritual thing, but can I go spiritual for a moment?
Absolutely. We're big believers here in what goes around comes around, and karma and, kindness and authenticity. We do believe there's other forces at work.
Beautiful. So the reason I asked that question is, to fully answer your question, I actually have not done a lot of research. I'm really only entering into the research of physics and applied science and all of that now, because I feel this calling to prove what I know. And really what has happened is, in this development of the deep knowing within me, and that's another element of what I do with people. It's like power is also this deeper wisdom in you, like this part of you that just was born knowing things, and you don't know how you know, but you know that you're supposed to know for some purpose. And the more I've gone into that for myself and in service of those that I serve in their wisdom, I have discovered so many things that have turned out to be the laws of physics. So I've had conversations with NASA physicists who will say to me, but how do you know that? Because that greater energy taught me. My soul taught me. So the answer is yes. And there is so much when it comes to physics and the laws of science that want to teach you things. So one of the big elements, for example, is instead of it being a push and pull, if you work with the energies and how it physically shows up in your life of surrender and choice, if you learn to surrender more deeply, again, to the ebbs or to that challenge that comes up or to the thing that you thought you didn't want, then you're going to be able to develop a bigger and deeper choice in what you're choosing next for what you're creating. So physics is really the laws of co-creation. And when you want to create something, when you start to apply physics and the physics in you, the physics of your body, the physics of your emotional system, the physics of your mind, what you're going to discover is this wisdom that is so powerful that it will carry you to where you've been wanting to go.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting as, AI advances in this field too, with, Elon Musk's research and Neuralinks, and, it's just all being plugged in. But I think we'll leave that discussion for another days, and, science being able to pick up the signals in our brains to actually alter our ebbs and flows. Fascinating discussion. We'll look forward to future ones with you, Jordanna. I'm going to pass it back to my colleague and partner, Malay, for wrap-up comments. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks, Jordanna, and thanks, Cindy, for such an engaging discussion. Really, it's a great point to conclude this discussion, leaving everyone with something to think about, and completely agree with your points as well, Jordanna, especially the last one. Incidentally, quantum physics is something you may want to look even deeper at. I'm sure you already have by now, but they actually talk about precisely some of the things that spirituality has been telling us for so long in terms of how we influence our choices. And that is how I end up going with the flow. I can't stop myself at times, but it's brilliant discussion. And thank you so much. For our audience, you of course heard two absolute experts go on this topic, but there's so much more to talk about, as you already know, and you can follow us both on Twitter, of course. Jordanna Eyre can be found at Jordanna Eyre. That's JORDANNAEYRE. That's her on Twitter. I know I'll be following her. SalesChoice, meanwhile, of course, you can follow at SalesChoice_Inc. It's fairly easy to find, but more importantly, you have tons of other resources and discussions on so many different topics that you can find on our website at saleschoice.com/resources. That's where the Predictive AI World Forum resides, and it contains webinars, white papers, ebooks, videos, and of course, podcasts as well. So do check it out. And we are, of course, keen to hear from you, and that'll be absolutely something wonderful to continue on at some later point of time. Meanwhile, Jordanna, thank you so much for being with us here today. It was absolutely lovely talking to you.
It's my pleasure. Thanks so much, Malay. And
thank
Cindy.
You. And Cindy as well, of course. So for everyone else, have a wonderful day, a blessed week, and summer's almost drawing out, so enjoy what's left of it, and we'll see you soon. Thank you, and bye-bye.